Hey everyone! Recently, we had the band Zopa over to the studio for a listening party. Their new album, Diamond Vehicle, was produced, engineered, and mixed by our very own John Agnello. We had Michael Imperioli on the show in episode 89, where he talked about his own creative process and the history of the band. In this episode, John sits down with Zopa to listen through the album and gives us a behind-the-scenes look at the recording, songwriting, creative process, and gear that went into this fantastic record.
You're crawling on your hands and knees to the lowest part. Desperation proud, but you don't know what's allowed. Through the palace, to the temple, to the station, to the court, to the chamber in your heart.
What I was curious about was, Michael, did you start that sort of the beginning of the song like with that intro in mind?
No, it was just that descending chord progression with C, B, G, F. That was just something I was playing around with when I was in Sicily, filming White Lotus. And the melody came out of that in the verses, and then I don't think the chorus came a lot later. I worked on the verses for a long time and the melody, just finding it. But
Were you looking at anything in particular when you...
the Mediterranean, yeah.
Really?
My room had a view of the Mediterranean Sea.
Were you really?
It was pretty amazing, yeah.
Playing it and watching the waves?
You know, it's very dramatic. Like you think of like the Odyssey and Homer and like Odysseus and the Cyclops. Like there's actual about 20 minutes from where we were. There's these rocks that the legend is that's what the Cyclops threw at Odysseus, and now they still remain.
When we play it, it always has some sort of epic quality to it. I can never really pinpoint what it is. It's just sort of baked into it, into the chords.
Good safety net for the rest of the song, yeah.
It is like I'm glad that song starts the record because there's so much magic in it. And even like when the band kicks in after the intro, like the way the groove hits, it's in your face but held back. You know what I mean? It just grooves in a way that is just like, holy cow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when we played it for you at first, you were like dancing. I remember that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, you were dancing.
But that was also the track where we made friends at Kaleidoscope. And then they came in to listen to that song.
Jane Seabury and
Renee
Colon
Yeah.
was recording in the next studio.
Yeah. And they were blown away to the point where they said, could we do backgrounds on it?
Yeah, that was
That was amazing.
happy
We were
accident.
like, okay. But there's something like that song, I'm glad it's first, because there's so much of elements of what makes the record special is in that song. You know what I mean? Just the groove of the rhythm section, the tenacity of the guitars. Yeah, it's a good one. And I just, and the lyrics are great. You know what I mean? It just, you could tell how deep it is and stuff.
So yeah, there's some exoticism in there. And
right.
I mean, the way you record guitars, John, is really special. And
Thanks.
I think it really, you have a history of that with so many great bands, but and for someone who doesn't play guitar, but knows a lot about guitar sounds.
Right.
Effects and amps.
Yeah.
Guitars.
Well, it's really good that I don't play guitar. That would be awful.
It's kind of bizarre and amazing that someone who doesn't play guitar understands how to get sound out of the instrument like you do.
Well, I will say, with my history of being an assistant engineer in the early 80s, I was lucky to assist for amazing engineers and producers like Jack Douglas and Bill Whitman and Dave Thoner and many more, Shelley Ackes. But the point was I watched these legends
Shelley Ackes
get great guitar sounds. And I copped, 90% of what I do, I copped from people who were great at what they did.
That's what everybody does.
Is that like in acting too? I don't know.
Everything.
Yeah, okay.
Really.
Yeah, well, I don't know because I've only done one thing in my life. That was it. You know what I mean?
I mean, how else are you supposed to learn if not from people who inspire you and who are doing it really well? It's like it's, I mean, obviously you have a talent and a passion, but your influences and the people you admire are like your guideposts. All right, how do I get from here to here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they do, you know.
Was this the first song we started tracking?
Well, we did Red Sky.
Before.
Yeah,
before. But when we came in to do the record,
I think so.
Yeah.
I feel like this was the one because we got sounds and.
No, you know it wasn't. It was Love and Other Forms of Violence.
Okay, right, okay.
Yeah, I
okay.
think so.
Okay, that's good. It's good to know. But I just remember that moment of getting sounds and you guys working this stuff out and coming in and listening, and it's like it was so close. But then you guys went back in with, liking what you heard, and just, it was like a switch. You know what I mean? All of a sudden you guys were locked in, and it was really great. Oh. And we were on analog.
Yeah, that was fun.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is difficult. You can't, it's analog. You can't cut and paste, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, your fade out on Arrows was, I still think about that. It
Oh, really?
was really good, yeah.
Oh.
The way you did it from the analog.
The thing about analog, which we all know in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, when that's all the way records were made, was analog just has a warm, fat, thick quality that you can't really you can kind of replicate with digital, but the way I describe it is digital still sounds like music. You know what I mean? It still sounds like music, but just the overall scope of the frequencies, it's so much more thicker. And you can do things like drive the tape, like hit it harder to get a little bit of distortion, which is kind of fun. The impetus of the analog was the band really wanted to record it in analog, which I was pro for, you know what I mean? And because I grew up on analog, but there were so many aspects of making this record that were special emotionally for me, and just, in the essence of the music. And that was one of the really cool things. Like, we did something that I miss doing. I wish I could do a lot more.
It just lends itself to a rock band, really.
Yep. Well, I hear it mostly in the guitars, the bass drum snare, and like the bass amp sound. You know what I mean? You can really feel, like you feel it more. You know what I mean? Like you're not hearing it, you're feling it.
Yeah, it's inspiring as you go in the process.
Yeah, for sure.
Hatred hiding under the trees.
Well, there's a little
Whistles.
clicks. Yeah, that's what you call them?
No, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the guitar.
That's just what the effect pedal just does that. It's not a...
What pedal is that?
What?
The effect pedal plays it.
It just... I don't know
Feeds
what
back.
it is.
It just feeds back,
It's
right?
just feeding back, and
What pedal is this?
So there's two reverbs on the verse, and then that's the Fuzz War by Death by Audio.
Oh, cool.
Oliver Ackerman, who's in Place to Bury Strangers, he makes those. I used to use the Big Muff for those kind of effects and for a lot of the solos, but I started using the Fuzz War instead of it, and I found it a little. I don't know. You can kind of I find you can control the gain a little better. I don't know. It's just a little bit more controllable.
A little more top end on it, right?
A little more top end,
which gives it that little whistly thing.
Yeah, and I just love it. I mean, it's a cool effects.
He's a pretty talented guy. Between the pedals and
great.
the band.
Oh, they're really good.
One of the things I also love that is so subtle yet perfect is, like, in the verse when you're singing, well, two things, but in the verse when you're singing, when you stop singing, Elijah plays those cool little riffs, and it's like just a little hook, but it's not under the vocal, you know what I mean? It's right where you can hear it.
Mindful of all the dangers to thank. It's got him where he wouldn't know.
But it's not so in your face that it's all right bass solo, but it's a cool melody, you know what I mean? And that really ties a lot of the verse together. And the other thing I love is just your vocal. It's like so clear, and it's not auto-tuned, so you can hear cool little movements in the vocals, you know what I mean? And they're not like out of tune, but they're movements, you know what I mean? It's not
They're
like,
out of tune.
but they're not really, because honestly, I grew up listening to like Rod Stewart and the Rolling Stones and stuff like that, the Grateful Dead, the Beatles, and honestly, like, it can move a little. It's more emotional than it is like and that's my little bugaboo with auto-tune, is I just feel like when it goes from step to step, you lose some of the emotion.
Yeah.
You know, you sing the notes and they're correct, and that's great. Once again, new technology, it's fine. When you listen to it, it's fine. But I get a little feeling from those verse vocals that you don't always get.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, my approach to singing is try to make the most pleasing sound you can with your voice.
Yeah.
It's not always on the right where the note should be. And live, it's like the better you can hear, the better it's going to be closer to that. But you know, you kind of work with your limitations, right? You know you're where you're at.
But this is perfect. Like I wouldn't change this at all.
Yeah,
it sounds like you. The melody's great.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
you mean.
It's honest.
Yeah,
And you gotta keep
and
it
it's
all
great.
out there for everybody to see. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to tell the story.
Yeah,
You know?
and it's very articulate and in your face and melodic and. Yeah, I love that, you know, the verses are so open so you could hear. It's like the previous, you know. It's so open you can hear everything perfectly. You know what I mean? And everybody's doing their own little nuancy thing, almost groove. The
You're
bass
more about
melodies, the
the
guitars
energy
are
of the whole thing,
but you know, it really, I mean, I gotta say the whole time we were in the studio, I love that we accomplished all that stuff.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
and the end, at the end of the day, that's what makes the record really special. Is you guys nailed it from the studio, and I was able to capture it. You know, and it sounds great. It's like such a pleasure.
Yeah, this song in particular like really came together sonically. It's like such a cool dynamic. The way the heavy part comes in, I love it. And then I got to play that crazy synth.
Yeah.
What was it? A Odyssey?
Maybe it was an ARP Odyssey.
I had no idea how to use it.
That's right.
It was. I think it may have been broken. I was but somehow I just got a perfect sound accidentally.
Yeah.
Like, all right, that's the sound, and I got to play a couple lines on it.
Open and we're so right and scarce these days. Wasn't always easy. That gaze.
I loved it. It was great.
That's what we're trying to capture.
Yeah.
You know, moments like
course.
that. So it's really fun. It makes me. I mean, the smile on my face tells you how much I enjoy stuff like that. You know.
Yeah. No, I mean, you were so encouraging. Really, I mean. No, I mean it's like, you know, it's intimidating to be in a studio with a legend.
Stop.
No, really. So, and your attitude was just like, we're just having fun.
Yeah.
You know?
And what's wonderful about what you do, John, is that you really understand what we're trying to do and get it and get what it could be and then try to make that happen. And like, there were a few times where you stuck to your gun and said, you know what, like maybe we wanted to do a certain thing. You're like, I really think this would work.
Right.
And it wasn't like, fuck you if you don't listen to me, but you know, you're willing to like really say, hear me out on this.
Yeah.
And this,
No,
some of those things were really important.
But I never forget that the artist name is Zopa. It's not me. But my point is, it's just, over the years, I've worked with so many diverse artists and watch them. You know, I really do watch and learn from them. Like Red Cross, I learned a lot about harmonies from them. You know, Jay from Dino, I learned about solos and just like what to add. You know what I mean? I just have learned, and I keep it in my mind. So when something comes up and I think, well, maybe we can do that. You know what I mean? If I'm not a my way or the highway guy, but if we try it, sometimes it works and it's great. You know what I mean? And that's what I love doing. And honestly, even with pre-production, I love doing that. Because if I give 10 comments and the artist uses 3, it's going to be 33%, you know, better or more interesting or more fun or just something you want to keep the listener engaged, and you definitely want to do like ear candy where they hear something, go, what was that? You know what I mean? You do want that to happen.
Yeah, and it's important to have an outside objective point of view, because we're like too close to it often, and we've played it a certain way. We feel we know this is how it should be, and it's like, oh, wait a second. Someone's looking from the outside. What if you tried it this way, or just shifted this or added this, and like, oh, so then this whole other thing opens up.
If
you're open to it.
But also to keep it in perspective, that didn't happen a ton, but it did happen a few times. And once again, you guys were open, and it worked, and that was great. And that's all I care about.
Yeah, I was like, oh, let's try a harmonium if we can get one. And you were like, great, I can get one.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, there was a harmonium in there. I don't know where you pulled it out from, but
I want to say my ass, but that's probably not.
That's not the one we used. Use a different one.
Where'd you get your paws on? Where'd you get your gun, son? Did you take it from the top of the stairs? Or grab it from down below? How high did your elevator go? How much did your fortune teller know? Are you just like everybody else?
So this is from a session like the year before we did the record.
This was the first time we all got together.
First time we worked with
Never forget that.
This song came together really quickly, and we started playing it live, and we're like, let's just record it. And we had heard, we have a lot of mutual friends, and we heard your name a lot, like whenever it came up when we were going to record something, and finally, like, we connected and sent you the demo, and you thought it was something you'd like to do, and it just worked right away.
Yeah.
It's the relationship and the approach, and the
And that we did digital.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
we did, yeah.
We did that digital. So isn't that an interesting concept? See, what goes back to what I was saying before. It fits on the record. It sounds great. So you don't really hear a difference, but there is a difference. You feel it. But if you're not thinking about it, you don't know. You're not. If you're not like forensically listening to something, it'll get by you. You know what I mean?
Well, a big part of how that fits in with the rest of the record is what they did in the mastering.
Greg
with
Calby and
what
Steve
was
Falone. Yeah.
Some cool fattening.
I forget what they did, but
outboard gear to like.
But they did something.
Because the first master, it was like it could be a little fatter.
Yeah.
So like I was saying, like it's some. You can get there digitally, but it's going to take a little bit longer, and it's going to more massaging, I think.
Yeah, and you're right. I forgot that they had to do extra stuff on that because I think we let them know that it was not.
Yeah, we wanted it just like a little bit fatter, a little more saturated.
Yeah, but those, that's the other great thing about having a team like that at the mastering phase. They can really make or break you. And I've been working with Greg and Steve. Well, Greg since '91. He's a legend. But Steve is his partner, and they've been doing it together for a long time now. And it's hard to describe what they do, but I always kind of say they make it sound like 33% better. And we walk out of the studio and we like our mixes.
Yeah.
Like it's not like we're unhappy. We have to fix things.
Yeah.
So you, when you work with bands, you recommend them all the time. Is that what you do?
Yeah. If we can get Greg, we get Greg because he's just
he's a legend.
Great.
Greg Calby.
Yeah, everywhere from John Lennon to War on Drugs to you guys to really all the Dino stuff. I mean, he's really great. So.
Blood on the Tracks.
Oh yeah.
He did Blood. Oh my God.
He did Damn the Torpedoes.
I think he did Horses.
He did everything.
I got a fever, but not the good kind, no. I'm just feeling so ill, and I've been reading your old messages, and my eyes are burning out the lid.
I love how it comes in and just punches you right in the face, and it's driving, and obviously there's the distinctive difference of you singing as opposed to Michael, and it's just a different vibe, but also I love how the bass drives it. You know what I mean? And it's interesting that, you know what I mean? Like you're driving the song a little more and you're singing. It's like, it worked out great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I turned the bass up, I guess.
I know you did. I sent you the stems. The first mix you sent me back was just your voice and bass.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a little much.
You sound better now.
You know, I used to play a bit more busy, and I realized at one point that like it's sort of better to, you know, with age and maturity, you sort of realize that you don't want to overplay, and the bass just sounds better when you're playing lower notes.
Right.
So any kind of like melodic fill or line that I'll throw in, I'll be really pretty judicious with where I do it, especially on a record.
And then it stands out more. You know,
Yeah,
it kind of
exactly.
it highlights it and features you.
Sure.
You know, it cuts through.
You know, that sort of thing.
Becomes
it becomes
more
part
of
of it becomes a part.
Right.
Yeah.
not
The
just the
undercurrent doesn't disappear. It goes up for a second and then comes back to where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And that's important.
And then you're doing some cool things on the chords, little melodic, you know, suspended things.
Can we play a little more of this song? Just
Little Townsend-
want to get a little,
Townsend
a little,
beats.
want to get a little deep into it.
Got to go to where you are. I guess I'm going through it, Joe. Oh yeah.
Little Elvis.
Yeah, and I love the slap on it too. Like that gives it that.
I love this solo.
Yeah, me too.
It's sort of like an answer, a call and response between the verse, the vocal, and the guitar.
Yeah, no, this solo is awesome. I just love the whole the juxtaposition of this song and the previous it's just the dynamic. It hits so much harder, and it's just more. I don't know. It just works so well. You know, like I always think of, once again, going back to vinyl when I was a kid. Records were sequenced in a certain flow. You know what I mean? And sometimes I miss that, and some people don't get that. You know what I mean? But that's the perfect way to end side one.
Yeah.
What made you think to kind of have this chord progression in the intro, that thing that you're doing there?
Just kind of setting the tone for the song, and like I just liked getting that watery sound.
It really feels
It's
like
called
you're
the ocean, right? So
in
that
the water, yeah.
the Dunlop wah with the phase 100 and the reverberator on a certain setting that has that almost synthy thing. Those things
Yeah.
together is also a carbon copy. I heard. I mean, I've known this song. There's there's the Velvet Underground version, and he did it on solo album with different lyrics. And then I heard a acoustic demo of him, I guess, I think it's like after the Velvet Underground. That is so beautiful. It's so stripped down, and Lou's voice is just so expressive and vulnerable and clear. And I just love that song. And then he sings the lyrics, the solo version lyrics, on that demo. And I was like, well, that might be fun to try. And then we started messing around with it in practice. And the last two chords of the song are the same chords as Heroin, basically. So we started playing Heroin, and then we did it live, and it really clicked with the audience.
And is that the sound you get live too, with all like the overtones and stuff? That's great.
Exactly, yeah. It's all the same stuff. The Heroin part that when we do it live is always different, and it's Omo drives the rises and falls of that, and we're at his mercy during that, during that song really. But it's
Yeah, because we also didn't cut to a click, right? That was all natural.
Well, the song
Yeah.
on the album, it speeds up a lot.
Yeah.
Maureen Tucker on the floor tom it's very beautiful.
Yeah.
You don't like playing the clicks, do you?
Once, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Well, was your track to a click? We did one to a click.
You know what we
I can't remember which one it was.
what
but
we would
did.
do was sort of set a click to get the tempo
Right.
To get the tempo right. If we had too much caffeine, maybe you know. So we would play the tempo on the click just to get it right, and then once you come in, you just take it off, right?
That's true, because the songs where it just starts with guitar, maybe it's better to have a timing so you can,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's consistently, you know.
Which is a great way to do it.
Yeah.
That way, if you need to comp,
Yeah. Right.
everything's because once you have the tempo set, you
You're
don't
like a
really
metronome.
stray.
He's a metronome.
Yeah.
Human metronome.
So we could comp. Let's say if we really liked a chorus from take 2, we could comp them together,
Right.
and they'd fit perfectly,
Right.
even though the whole song wasn't fit to recorded to a click.
But also it's good, like in the intros where it's just one thing. If it's clicked, then you can overdub to it, and you know what I mean? You don't have to feel it a certain way. You know what I mean? You know
Yeah.
it's kind of in the ballpark of where you have to be. Because I've had that happen to me in the control room where it's like, oh, I want to put a second guitar on, and it's like, I can't copy my feel of the, you know what I mean?
That's hard. Yeah.
It's like a little bit of a bummer, so.
I remember your click sounded nicer than most clicks too. I was like, "Ooh, this is pretty." It's less. There's like an undertone to it.
Maybe I used a tambourine or something? I
No,
forget.
no, it was a click track, but
But I mean, but as a tambourine sound or something?
maybe.
Yeah.
It was more
Interesting.
pleasant. Most of them are way high, like
Yeah, yeah.
you
yeah.
know. Yours was good.
Thanks. Put that on my business card.
Yeah. I got good clicks. Well, the Kaleidoscope, they had like all these drums that had a very, very great sound. I like tuned with the snare, and then the owner came by. He was like, "What's going on with that snare?" And then he like retuned it to get a little more open sound for Red Sky. And I was like, "Oh, okay." They know
that Randy?
exactly what they're. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about working at Kaleidoscope is they really have a good handle on the drums. And whenever like we're coming to track, like the drums already sound really good. Like, you know what I mean? We didn't
Yeah,
have,
for
like
sure,
we didn't
yeah.
have to fuck with
No, we
drums.
didn't.
And I just remember years at different other places where you'd be sitting hitting the floor tom for like 20 minutes trying to get the right tone.
Yeah.
And I think it's just Jeremy and the previous guy who ran it, Kyle. Kyle's a drummer. And
Right.
they just, it's
They know how to
just
do it.
also like you guys remember the first day of tracking the rest of the record. Like we had drum sounds in like a half an hour.
Yeah, it came together.
And
right away.
honestly, it's like less shit that I have to worry about. And honestly, you too. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
for sure.
the drums just already sound good. I put those mics on that I use, and there you go.
But you use a lot of mics on
I use
the
a lot
drums,
of
which
mics.
is even more sort of impressive how
Yeah.
quickly it came together.
Yep, old
How many
people-
mics do you?
A lot, but old people yell at me on the
I know
podcast.
they do. I've heard them yell at you.
Why?
Because they say, old people, like old engineers say 5 mics is all you should use. And I use about 12 or 13, and I do that stupid guitar thing in the front of the bass drum that drones, you know, remember that? And I do all kinds of weird shit, but it's fun. I like fucking around, and we have the ability, especially on digital.
You want to explain the drone thing? That's
I
kind
mean,
of fun.
the drone thing is just something I heard on a mix I was doing in a drum break. I heard this sound coming, and I had to find it, and it was the pickup of the guitar player in the live track standing next to the bass drum, and I cleaned it because I was like, that sounds weird. And then like 3 days later, I was like, what am I doing? That was fucking so cool.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to reverse technology, figure it out. And so I put a open tuning of the song guitar, hollow body guitar in front of the bass drum.
You tune the guitar to the key of the song.
Yeah, the open key, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, I think you probably did it for me, or maybe Jeremy did it. But and then I run it through phases and distortions and stuff like that. And basically it sounds like, I don't know, like an emo heavy metal tambora. You know, it just goes, you know what I mean? And if you have it below.
Like an airplane.
Yeah, it just gives it a vibe. Now, it doesn't work on every record. So sometimes I just take it out and it's fine. But sometimes it's kind of cool. It's like a weird thing. But that's like to show you how like kind of dumb my whole thing. I just do so much extra stuff. And I've always thought like it's just good to have options, like a distorted mic on the drums in case you want to like beef up a drum break and make it explode. You know, I put a 57 through a Big Muff or whatever the fuck.
What I really love about the record is that the songs are very different.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a flavor. Some of them are more akin to each other, like Love and Other Forms of Violence, A Still Life have a certain kinship. Withdrawal and like Arrows kind of has a kinship, but they're really their own thing. You know, they're very different, which I really like too.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I feel like they're different rooms within the same castle.
And you made it all smooth, by the way. You linked them with the little...
Well, it was, you know, even the mixing was a team effort,
Yeah.
honestly. You know, it was like you guys were there the whole time. I think, once again, we keep going back to it, but I think that's what makes this work, is it's a team effort. You know what I mean? And I think that's really fun and great, you know? And
For sure.
and on a level of, you know, artistic level, and then also on a personal level. So it you know, that's a lot of why this record is just so wonderful. You know, it's like it was just, we all did what we did best and did it together.
Crashing down on all our heads day by day, filling up another page. You, ma'am, got an offer on your plate, still refuse to give it all away.
Michael, did you start those chords out on an acoustic?
Yeah, acoustic. Not sure if it's acoustic or electric, but not plugged in. Like, I practice and write a lot on an electric that's not plugged in.
I feel like I can tell because it's so, you're like the attack is so sort of strong. It's like, it's very attacky. It sounds like someone trying to hear all the rhythm of an entire band in one guitar that's unplugged. You know what I mean?
I think, I know what you mean. I think this song started with that intro and chord progression, and then the verse lyrics were written around 2015. My friend, a really good friend of mine, had lost the battle with like mental illness and wound up committing suicide. And this song is really about that. There's some anger I had at some people, you know, that I felt took advantage of him. There were things that I heard him say like a couple of years before when he started to really struggle and would go into kind of certain delusionary states, and there were things that I found that he had written to me, and then my commentary on that stuff. That's really what the song is about. It's really somebody doing battle with their own voices in their head. And then when we started playing again, I brought it in, and the choruses came, and the solo came, and the outro. And the outro is kind of the redemption, because he was a very loving person and put a lot of love in the world, and those that remained his friends and that love that received kind of hopefully liberates, you know, his suffering somehow in the next life. That's the gist of the song.
Are the chorus lyrics specific to your friend too?
All of it's inspired
'Cause
by
I
his
now
battle.
get that now that I hear.
Yeah, and the word
story.
rain, so W-R-A-I-N, I don't know if it's like in Webster's, but it's in the Urban Dictionary, and it's someone who pretends to be something they're not, which is addressed at certain people that were in his life at the time. My favorite guitar solo in rock, and I'm not comparing the solo in this by any means to the level of my favorite solo, but I was inspired by Pick Me Up on the Beyond album, Dinosaur Jr. Pick Me Up, 3 minutes into Pick Me Up, he goes into a 3.5 minute long solo. That's just magnificent. It's so expressive and beautiful and interesting. And I was like, wow. Like, the fact that he just takes so much time with it.
Yeah.
And the places it goes. I mean, again, Jay Mascis is one of the greatest guitar players ever, period. But, you know, your heroes are like lighthouses or beacons that you kind of set your compass point to in some way.
We brought in the acoustic just at that moment, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's in some
cool.
other sections.
But it's sort of like that was like sort of a moment where it comes up.
Yeah, I think so.
It was fun. It was fun playing acoustic on our songs, which I'd never done. Yeah.
And you got a great tone out of the acoustic, which can be a tricky thing sometimes when you're trying to mix an acoustic guitar into a rock
Yeah.
milieu.
When I played the beat, you were like, the beat's interesting. You don't need to play the toms. Just play the snare. The beat's good enough. You don't like do the whole kit like a fucking jackass. You know, just do.
What's that? John said that?
Maybe, or maybe I was.
Wait a minute.
Thinking he was saying that.
Yeah, I don't think he would have said that.
I don't think I say jackass ever.
Don't do it like a fucking jackass.
Exactly.
But just work it. That you don't need to worry. You just do the beat on the snare. It's fine. And that like freed up the song a lot for me.
Well, it opens
you know?
up space for everything to
for
sit
everything, yeah.
together.
But that intro, I mean, the drums on the intro, at those instrumental parts it's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really wild.
It just starts immediately like that.
Yeah, I mean, you hear all the, all the anger and all the emotion right off the bat in that.
Right, reaching, yeah.
Yeah, the energy of the chorus vocal is just so good because you really are telling someone to go fuck themselves. You know what I mean? Like just the attitude. You know what I mean? It's not just anger. It's like kind of
Judgment. Right.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's really good.
It's like there's a lot of anger there.
Yeah.
Obviously, and sadness too.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
hope, hopefully. Love and Other Forms of Violence has the Tara mantra, which is a mantra from Tibetan Buddhism. Om Tare Tu Tare Tura Mama Ayujana.
Yeah.
It's not the whole thing, but which means really, O liberator, O swift liberator. It says something like that. Tara mantra is a protective, liberating from negative states of mind, and pacifying. So, because the song is pretty dark, Love and Other Forms of Violence. The title, illustrates that, and then the Tara mantra is kind of like clearing that negativity away, banishing it. You're like, okay, here it is. We've dealt with it. It's there. It was there, but it's over, and move on.
There's almost sort of a sense of responsibility that you have, it seems, where you don't want to leave it at that. Putting something dark and say negative out there serves a purpose.
Yeah. It puts like you said, it's a
You're not
release.
just vomiting or
No.
something. It serves a sort of
it's a way to process it,
Yeah.
right? Even in the
that's
last
cool.
song, in Eras, which is a tragedy, right, if you will, but the end, which we found I think in the studio. While we were recording, we never sang that lyric. Somehow I'm going to find my way.
Yeah,
Which
right.
we just, we decided to end on that. Again, the same thing. The possibility of transcending, the suffering, the difficulties.
And when we do it in harmony, there's this sort of there's this positive feel that happens with harmony. I mean, Beach Boys or
Well, that's the other thing we haven't really talked about much on the record is we've talked about a lot of the elements. We really haven't discussed your harmonies on his songs because it is a great A and B scenario. You know what I mean? Whether you either counter his melodies and do ooze or you sing harmony, it gives it a really cool, both your voices blend in a very cool way, and it gives it just way more development. You know what I mean? And I think the choices of your harmony to his lead vocal on the record is really like just good points.
Oh, the harmonies are really critical to all, all the songs that, that you do them on.
My biggest influence for that stuff is Kim Deal. I mean, and bass too.
Yeah, no, she's...
It's all, I'm always
God.
thinking of Kim Deal.
Yeah, no, she's something special, that woman.
Yeah.
Have you heard a new record?
It's really good.
Yeah.
I only heard 2 tracks, but they're great.
It's different, which I was really impressed with. Yeah. Like there are horns on certain songs, and like I was surprised at some of the things on it, but it's really cool.
She sounds great.
She sounds great.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah. No, I'm
even the way she sings, I mean, I don't sound like Kim Deal, but I try to sort of, approach the notes in a similar way.
That's great. Yeah, she's so fucking talented. But just back to the harmonies, the background vocals, I think that's an intrinsic, like Michael said, like live number 5, the 5th thing is as important. You know what I mean?
No, it's another instrument.
Yeah.
It's part. It really informs our sound very much.
He was skinny, dressed in black. He was lonely as the ace of spades. He slept in the streets at night, clutched on his guitar so tight. Hair was metal from the grime. Couldn't do the
The lyrics are so cool in this song.
It's this is the oldest song, Zopa song on the records, because we started playing it live like in 2008. Never recorded it, so it has some of the older sound from Zopa. This
and even it's as old as Shakespeare.
Well, yeah. So the title comes from the arrows of our age's fortune. So it's from the to be or to not to be monologue. Whether 'tis nobler to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. I was thinking of like a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Star-crossed lovers.
Right.
And
set in modern times.
Modern times. And I liked the idea, we started working on this, it was almost like I thought it was 2 different songs, and I saw how they could be one song. And the structure was really inspired by The Who, A Quick One While He's Away, and
nice.
also Street Hassle, like song, they were like suites, different part, almost like different songs. And the first part is this third-person narration, talking about these 2 people. And then the second part is the 2 people talking to each other. And the middle is like when everything kind of comes to a big climax, and that's the 2 solos, the bass solo and the drum solo. What was interesting about this was like, because most of the time you guys would improvise a solo live when we played it. And now we had to settle on something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was going to live forever, right? So
It's a lot of pressure.
that was a lot of pressure.
That was a lot of pressure.
As someone who never practices soloing, it's especially a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It worked out though. It's
But
great.
I remember you were not sure what to do. You were.
I tried so many different things over the years.
Yeah. And you asked Omo at one point for a backbeat, and then you did some very like groovy kind of
The James Brown sort of
thing, which was amazing. But I was like,
it didn't fit.
we were to say we got to think of the story, and the characters and what they were going through then, and then you came up with what you did, which I thought was just amazing.
In your mind, like, what do the solos mean in terms of the lyrical?
It's a nervous breakdown. Well, that's what they used to call it.
Yeah.
I imagine that it takes place like in the 70s, and the kind of hospitalization that happens to the female character in the story, and electric shock therapy, and that's what where the solos. And then when he comes out, it's the guy coming to visit her in the hospital. That's the second part of the song. So it's it's that's why what both you guys do is there's a melodic. It's not just a solo. I mean, there's no point just having a solo. You know what I mean? It's like it's to tell the story in a different, reflective way. And live, it's really fun too because you don't expect. People think the song is over a lot because you start off really quiet, the bass solo, right? They think you're just kind of fading out, and then it's like, oh wait, he's doing a bass solo.
Yeah.
And then there's a drum solo, and then there's a whole other song it goes in a whole new, you know.
I think that might have happened at Monaco, and when we saw you guys in Durham.
Yeah.
Where you went into, I think I remember that, where people were like, oh, wait.
Right.
Oh,
Right, the flanging.
the flanging is so cool there. I forgot we did that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Fuck. Michael, I mean, you've written scripts and plays, and I mean, how much do you incorporate, or how much do you sort of see the lyrics sort of cinematically?
Not often. This one very much so.
Yeah.
This one's like a little, like almost like a little movie. You know, the guy just, this musician who's, sleeps in the street and falls in love with this girl, and she lives near the river, and then them talking to each other. There's some. This one, very much, because the characters are really clear. Sometimes songs are just more expressive or a point of view or something like that, but
When you have characters, it sort of might sort of lend itself to just writing like a movie.
exactly, and
Sort of inevitable, I guess.
not all the time is that what the approach is. I think my favorite lyric is in this song that at least I've written, that all the dirty motherfuckers who run this place wouldn't know an angel if she sat on their face. That's I think my favorite
Yeah, that's probably,
thing I've ever come up with.
That is amazing.
I think that's the Shakespearean.
I didn't know you wrote that. I didn't know that was original. I thought that was a quote.
Maybe do just the end of this, because I loved what you did, John, and also how we ended it.
I'm doing like Sir Duke,
Right.
the bass line.
That's so good.
I liked how you built that fade. That
Right.
was really cool.
Is that something we all talked about? Or
Yeah, man. We saw it.
Amen for moving faders.
Hell's yeah.
Yeah, there's I don't. What is it? I mean, there's just something about the physically fading out a song with the ride.
I don't know. There's just emotion, like in the way you bring the fader down and you're listening to the track and you're feeling it a certain way. You know what I mean? So there's more of a physical and honestly not perfect way of doing it.
Organic.
Sometimes it makes it.
You're reacting to the music.
To the music.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not just doing a shelf that goes down.
It's not just
evenly.
mathematical.
Yeah.
It's-
There's a raw energy to the album that it's very visceral. I think it works with like the red cover. It feels like it's just sort of blood pumping through an organism, and the record is sort of an image of that.
I think there's also a cohesive, experience, to the record, from one song to the next, and as a whole, there's something. There's threads, throughout, and it's like it feels more like, an album rather than a collection of songs, like albums that like I used to love and grew up with. That were like there was a headspace, there was a vibe, that was intentional, and I think this manages to do that. I also love that it's technically only 7 songs.
Yeah,
it's kind of like 8 or even 9 if you think of the arrows as almost like 2.
right, too.
But we were just like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with long songs.
Yeah.
Where it's like a Fela Kuti album.
Yeah. When Arrows ends, what I want people who are listening to do is to say, wow, take up the needle, flip the record, and put it on side 1 again and listen again. That's what I want.
when you were a kid, you had the album, you're looking at the pictures, looking at the lyrics, trying to, decipher it or trying to penetrate it, or, it always added. I mean, when I was starting to listen to buying albums, listen to it, that was it. You're sitting there in your room, on the floor, on the bed, looking at this, holding this thing. If there were lyrics, you're reading them, you're studying them, you're trying to understand it, and it's great that that experience hasn't gone extinct,
Honestly, I'm so excited that the record came out last week because I've been waiting for people to hear this record. And I'm super proud of the work we all did together. And I genuinely like the record. Like, that's the thing. If I wasn't involved with it, I would listen and go, these guys are who the fuck are these guys? These guys are great. So I'm really excited about getting home to Raleigh and putting it on my turntable and cranking the shit out of it in my living room. But once again, I think we all did great work. We all got along. We were all super helpful with each other. They were super creative with stuff. The ideas, like the flanging at the end of Arrow and that breaking arrows, is so fucking cool. I forget whose idea it was, but we did it.
That's the thing. When you're just cooking with everyone, you don't even know who's suggesting what. Doesn't matter. You're just anything goes.
And I found with us, even if someone suggested something, if that didn't work, it led to something else cool that we managed to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? It wasn't just yes or no. It was like, well, you take us now on a path. Right. That doesn't work, but let's go in that path.
Find the next thing.
Yeah, find the next thing. So in general, I just felt really great, and I loved knowing the guys. I mean, I missed the Rough Trade show last night, but I was so excited to take the train into Manhattan just to hang out for an hour, even though I knew I was seeing them today. You know what I mean? I wasn't going to be like, no, I'm not going to go. I wanted to see everybody. So, for me, it's like all good vibes, and it's all just like, it makes me happy. And honestly, at this point, I just want to be I want to make records with people I like and be happy.
We got to get back in the studio.
Dude, there is that song, Whenever You Call Me, I'll Be There, I'll Be Around.
Somehow I am gonna find my way. Somehow I am gonna find my way.
For links, playlists, and extras for this and all our episodes, go to gearclubpodcast.com and be sure to sign up for our mailing list for the latest news and interviews. Follow us on social media at Gear Club Podcast and head over to our YouTube channel at Gear Club Podcast for video versions of all our episodes and more. Thanks for listening. Gear Club is produced by me, James Frazee, and the inexplicably enigmatic Jacques Friest. Our video wizard is Emily Sassmore. Matt Ely is our production and scheduling czar. Luna Navarro is our social media maven. Big thanks to our announcer, Bella Pearl Agnello, musical director, Mel F. Lewis, our legal counsel, the firm of Dewey, Cheatham & Howe, our house band, the Silver Merkins, and our sponsor, Eventide. What, are you guys doing a podcast?
Come on.